Dayon ba ang face to face kay murag meetingan para mo na pero like June daw, something kay like mag-prepare me for face to face. Sige. So mag-start ta no. So our topic for today will be about understanding hypothesis testing and exploring more elements of hypothesis testing. So what is hypothesis testing? So it is a decision making process for evaluating claims about a population based on the characteristics of a sample purportedly coming from that population. The decision is whether the characteristic is acceptable or not. Okay, so there are two types of hypothesis. No? The first one is the null hypothesis. So it is denoted by H sub 0. It is a statement that there is no difference between a parameter and a specific value, or that there is no difference between two parameters. Another one is the alternative hypothesis. So we denote this as H sub 1. It is a statement that there is a difference between a parameter and a specific value, or that there is a difference between two parameters. Okay, so muna siya to ang duha ka hypothesis ha, ang null ug ang alternative. So ang first na to is ang null. In this case, there is no difference. Ang alternative na ay difference. Mura na siya atong timan-an guys. So we suppose the two parameters of interest are denoted by mu sub 1 and mu sub 2. So if there is no difference between the two values, the relationship is written in symbols as mu sub 1 minus mu sub 2 is equal to 0. So even if we don't know the values for this one, sa atong mu sub 1 o mu sub 2, bisan pag wa ta kabalo sa values ani niya, since gi-indicate man sa null hypothesis nga 0 ang yang specific yang difference, so that would mean that mu sub 1 and mu sub 2 are equal. Because if imo siyang i-subtract and they are equal, that will yield you to 0. Diba? It makes sense. So, if mu sub 1 and mu sub 2 are not equal, that means you will have a difference. Say for example, nakay mu sub ayun na eh, pizza ha. So let's say for example, nakay mu sub 1 minus mu sub 2 and they are not equal. So it will yield to mu sub 3. So like another value na pud siya no. So this is basically saying 2 minus 2 is equal to 0. So same ra sila values for both. Okay. So let's apply the hypothesis testing no. So for example 1, you have there a bottled fruit juice content. So ang content daw sa bottled fruit juice. So we take note nga ang isa ka bottle nara gyud na siya specific nga bulutangan no, like mura gyud na siya specific nga what do you call this, measurement for that container no. Kasi for example 1 liter, 1 liter ra gyud na ang iyahang masulod ana, di na gyud sa pwede mo lapas, di ba? So the owner of a factory that sells a particular bottled fruit juice claims that the average capacity of a bottle of their product is 250 ml. So is this claim uh, true? Okay. So for our null hypothesis, we indicate there that the bottled drinks contain 250 ml per bottle. So this is the claim, no? So muna siya ato ang what you call this ato ang null hypothesis because wala siya significant difference. It says nga 250 ml ra siya as claimed. Okay, as claimed. And for our alternative bottled drink, alternative hypothesis, I mean, so the bottled drinks do not contain 250 ml per bottle. So this is like disproving nga 250 ml ba jud ang sulod anang botelyaha. Okay? So it's either we prove the statement wrong or correct. So nara di ara. So this is the opposite of the claim, which is ang atuang alternate, no, nga hypothesis. So from here, dara mo na itong null hypothesis, no, there's no difference. So wala siya difference. So that's why yari true siya for this one. Okay? No difference man siya. Okay? But sa atong alternative hypothesis, as you can see, there is a difference. So ang difference niya, so if na siya difference, that would mean nga it does not contain 250 ml, no? So in symbols, H sub 0 or the null hypothesis, mu is equal to 250. And H sub 1 or the alternate hypothesis, mu is not equal to 250. So the expression may be interpreted as follows. So the sample comes from a population whose mean is mu is equal to 250. And the second sample comes from uh, population whose mean is equal to the population mean. So that is the claim. So in mathematics, the symbol not equal in alternative hypothesis suggests either a greater than relation or a less than relation. Okay, 'di ba? Sa tuang sa tuang null hypothesis, there is no difference. But in alternate hypothesis, there is a difference. That's why it is not equal to 250, no? So the difference could be greater or less than. So bantog na siya gi-indicate diha nga not equal, di na siya equal og 250 kay it could be greater than 250 or less than 250. So anybody, so nabay maka-guess if dili siya 250, would it be greater or would it be lesser? Okay, isa tong nag-answer. Raise of hand. Miles?
Um, if it is not 250, sir, then it would be either of the both, sir. Either greater or lesser, sir.
Okay. Miss Jerusalem?
It would be less than, sir, since it cannot hold a capacity more than 250, sir.
Very good. So mo to siya, no, akong hint ninyo earlier, no. Ang botilya di gina siya pwede molapas, di ba? So if dili 250 ang ato ang claim diri nga exactly 250, it could be lesser. It will not be greater than because muawas mo na, di ba? So gets ra Miles?
Sir, sa ko, sir.
Sige lang. So very good Miss Jerusalem, no. Sakto to siya nga claim, no. So if dili siya mo greater than, it would be less than because um we have a limit, no. Diha ra gid sa taman ang iyang capacity. So dara siya, oh, what is the interpretation of the sample? So it means that the consumer group is not interested in getting the sample mean greater than 250 or the sample mean less than 250. However, this this does not make sense in the given exercise. So the consumer group has a purpose. It has a direction. So the consumer group may want to refute the claim or to prove it wrong. No? Pwede na to siya i-prove nga wrong. So the appropriate alternate hypothesis is that H sub 1 um, will say or will indicate that the mu is less than 250. No? So muna siya. Okay, so we take note that the alternative hypothesis um, utilizes the symbol not equal. Okay, not equal symbol, no? So the test is said to be non-directional. So if not equal siya, it is non-directional. So when the alternative hypothesis utilizes greater than or less than symbol, the test is said to be directional. So ato na siya matakel karon, no? If directional ba siya the alternative hypothesis or not. So we have their teacher wants to know if listening to popular music affects the performance of pupils. So a class of 50 grade 1 pupils was used in the experiment. So the mean score was 83 and the standard deviation is 5. So a previous study revealed that mu is equal to 82 and the standard deviation is 10. Okay, so we will state the null and alternative hypothesis in words and in symbols. And also, we will state whether the test is directional or non-directional. So, given naman da ano ang atong 82, that is our population mean. So, in other words, the hypothesis are, atong null hypothesis dire will be, in words ni siya ha. So, the sample comes from a population whose mean is mu, uh, which is equal to 82. Or the alternative, so, ano siya tong A sub 1. So, the sample comes from a population whose mean is equal to the population mean. Ay, H sub 0 din ni siya. H sub 0 ra gyapon din ni siya, guys. Kani siya. H sub 0 ra gyapon ni siya. Okay, equal man good. So mo ni siya ato ang alternative no kan H sub 1. So the sample do not come from a population whose mean mu is equal to 82. So wala daw siya naggikan ana. So in symbols, H sub 0 is equal to 82 and H sub 1 wherein mu is not equal to 82. So it could be there, no? So, na-state na nato siya sa tong 1, no? Sa tong 1. Check na tong 1 dire, atong gi-state ang null ug alternative hypothesis. Ang 2 is to test whether it is directional or non-directional. So, as you can see there, ato ang statement diari gibutang a teacher wants to know if listening to a popular music affects the performance of the pupils. So, gusto lang niya mahibaw-an unsay apekto sa popular music sa mga grade 1 pupils, no, gusto lang niya mahibaw-an ang epekto. Wala siya nag-ask if greater ba ilang performance or lesser ba ilang performance. So in this case, would our test be directional or non-directional? Anyone? Okay. Isa to nag-raise yung hand. Isa to, ga-raise to siya hand or ga-comment? Ah, sige, Miles.
It would be non-directional, sir, since ang giingon naman, sir, is whether it affects the performance of pupils. So, either ni improve or ni lala. So,
Okay.
non-directional siya, sir.
Thank you, thank you. So non-directional siya, no? So there's no clue, no? Dili sufficient ang iyahang um information, no? So there's no clue to the direction of the investigation. So the phrase affects performance, so dara siya affects performance. So a teacher wants to know if listening to popular music affects the performance of pupils. So mura man na siya ang indicate dira. So it implies either an increase or a decrease in performance. So wala gi-indicate if ni mahaba ilang performance or ni dako. So the test is non-directional. So mura to siya, no, ang atuang pag-test ato niya. So another example. So a farmer believes that using organic fertilizers on his plants will yield greater income. So his average income for the past 200 for the past was 200,000 per year. So state the hypothesis in symbols. So for our solution, ato ang H sub 0 is matik na atong null hypothesis will be equal to 200,000. And take note na to sa ato ang keyword diari, greater income, no? So he wants to know if using the organic fertilizer will give him a greater income, no? So this means nga ang atong H sub 1 should be mu which is greater than 200,000. So, no? So, mo to siya ang iyahang gusto mahibaw-an nga if mogamit ba daw siya fertilizer, mudako ba daw yung income. So, since mudako man, greater than atong gamiton. And unsay kuan ni siya, will this test be directional or non-directional? Anyone? Wala? Anyone? Sige, gusto itong raise my hand.
Directional siya, sir, since naman siya usa kay direction which is right-tailed na movement.
Um, okay. So, ang correct answer, enemies, is directional siya. Because, directional siya because, kuhan man siya. Naman siya direction whether greater ba siya or less than. Okay? So, ang direction niya will be right or left-tailed. So, in this case, right siya. Okay? Greater man siya. Okay? Nagets ra, Miss Jerusalem?
Ay, yes, sir. Maupod akong gingon, sir, na directional kay right-tailed ang
Oh,
movement.
I thought na directional yung gingon. Sorry.
Directional, sir.
Lutaw mo po di ay. Sorry. So, yari no, ang non-directional test is also called a two-tailed test. Sorry. And ang directional test may either be left-tailed or right-tailed, no? So, muna siya ang graphical representations na to of two-tailed test and one-tailed test. So, sa to ang non-tailed test, ito makita sa to ang curve, yari, na present siya for both, no? Present siya for both. And if one-tailed siya, it could either be left-tailed or right-tailed. So, di ara siya nag-focus lang. No? So, so in exploring more elements of hypothesis testing, so we make decisions in real life, we usually associate them with probability values. No? For example, when we buy a lottery ticket, we hope for 100% win. Of course, we do not look forward to a loss. So in statistical inference, we also make statements of probability when we decide about the null hypothesis. So in hypothesis testing, we make decisions about the null hypothesis. Of course, there are risks when we make decisions. So when we conduct a hypothesis test, there are four possible outcomes. The following decision grid shows these four outcomes. So again, note the decision is focused on the null hypothesis. So natay table, no? The four possible outcomes in decision making. So in reality, the null hypothesis could be true, and also, so if ang null hypothesis is true, ang atong alternative hypothesis would be false, di ba? And we have there, so if the null hypothesis is true, so if true ba daw siya, and accepted, so accepted siya, so we do not reject. So if we do not reject, it is the correct decision, no? And um, the decision is correct. So if the null hypothesis is true and rejected, if true ang kwan, if true ang atuang null hypothesis and gi-reject siya, therefore, it is a type 1 error. So type 1 error na siya, no? Another one, if ang atong ano, we call this, atong null hypothesis is false. So if atong null hypothesis is false, h of 0 din siya eh. If atong null hypothesis is false and accepted, the decision is incorrect, no? So nganong i-accept man nimo siya if false siya, di ba? So this one is called a type 1 error, no? If i-reject na to siya, that will be the correct decision, di ba? So ana ra siya. So muna siya ang four possible outcomes na to. So kung malikon ha, if true ang null hypothesis, okay, if true ang null hypothesis, dari. Ako sa i-clear balik ha. So if true ang atong null hypothesis and imuha siyang gi-reject, so kasi for example, um 2 plus 2 equals 4, no? If 2 plus 2 equals 4, that will be our null hypothesis, no? If we will if we will accept it or we will not reject it, it is the correct decision. But if we will reject it, we will call it a type 1 error. It is when ang type 1 error na to, no, it is when the null hypothesis is true but rejected. Okay? Now, H sub 0 is false. What if the null hypothesis is not true? What if 2 plus 2 is equal to 5? So if 2 plus 2 is equal to 5 and we reject that, if we will reject the null hypothesis, we will say nga it is the correct decision, no? And if false gani ang atuang if false gani ang atuang null hypothesis and ato siyang gi-accept, we are committing a type 2 error. So mura na siya, no? So let's say for example, Maria's age. So Maria insists that she is 30 years old when in fact she is 32 years old. So what error is Mary committing? So for our solution, Mary is rejecting the truth. So gi-reject niya ang truth. So ga-reject siya sa truth when in fact ang null hypothesis is correct man. Gi-reject man niya ang truth. Therefore, she is committing a type 1 error. Okay? So ana ra siya. Example 2. Monkey eating eagle hunt. So hunting the Philippine eagle is prohibited by law. Thus, this is not a good sport. So this is a type 2 error. Since hunting the Philippine monkey eating eagle is against the law, the man may find himself in jail if he goes out of his way hunting endangered species. So ana ra siya, no? Ang atuang um, type 2 error or type 1 error. So ang type 1 error guys, balik ko na ko. Ang type 1 error is if when atuang null hypothesis is true but you will reject it. Okay? So muna siya ang atuang type 1 error. Ang type 2 error would be when our null hypothesis is false but you will accept it. If imo siyang i-accept bisag false siya, you are committing a type 2 error. Okay? So that ends our class. Nay questions, guys? Questions, anybody?
None, sir.
So if wala tayong questions, you can leave the meeting now. So that's all. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.